Okay, everybody, and warm welcome to episode 19 of Kicking the Balearics. Myself and Martin Makepeace have a look at all things happening on Balearic football right now. We look at the La Liga Smart Bank, which includes Real Mallorca, Segunda B, which includes over in Ibiza, UD Ibiza, and Peña Deportiva. And over here in Mallorca, Atlético Balear and UD Poblense. Then we look at Tercera Division Honor, and a little bit of local football with the kids too. So, Mark, how are you?
Good morning, Richie. How are you, mate?
Yeah, all good, mate. All good, you?
Yeah, good, mate. Still licking our wounds from the Copa del Rey a few days ago.
Yeah, just give us a bit of a rundown how it all went.
Well, obviously, this time last year we were talking about Ibiza Barcelona, weren't we, at home, and Ibiza lost to a last-minute goal, 2-1. Griezmann scored. So exactly a year later, what happens when Bilbao come to town? Ibiza played fantastically well, Richie. I've got to say, it played really well. However, last-minute goal again, 2-1. Let their guard down. Even the commentator said, you know, let's hope that Ibiza concede a last-minute goal. And unfortunately, what did they do? 2-1, back of the onion bag. Ibiza go out. But it was a glorious failure, Richie, if that exists. It was an amazing night. And Ibiza can be very proud of what they've achieved.
Ibiza's first loss of the season, of course.
It is, mate. It's not a bad first loss, though, Rich, is it? I mean,
well, no, if you're going to lose to somebody quite big,
lose to the Super Cup champions, mate. Really. So, you know, it was a big shame, and I think Ibiza deserved a result. Really, I don't know if you saw the match, Richie. I watched the match live, and they played really well. At times, they bossed it. But as usual, the La Liga has that little bit more quality, which they pay millions for, don't they? You know, they don't get that for free. So it's the last goal, and unfortunately, that's what happens.
Yeah, well, you mentioned there were Super Copa winners. I wanted to just quickly mention that this morning because I look at that story of Atletico Bilbao beating Barcelona in the Super Copa. Obviously, what normally happens in the Super Copa, just so you know, it's the runners-up and the winners of La Liga against the runners-up and the winners of the Copa del Rey. Now, because of COVID, the Copa del Rey the final hasn't actually happened yet. It's Bilbao against Real Sociedad. It's not going to happen until April. And there was obviously two stories. Well, one story you probably heard about, one story you haven't. Obviously, Lionel Messi's first ever red card for Barcelona, which is a bit of a shame. His illustrious career. I think he got frustrated a little bit too much. But another, what I thought was a fascinating story was a guy called, which you've probably heard of before. He's called Aritz Aduriz. Aritz Aduriz, fantastic player, been around years. I mean, he started his career in 1999. He's played 640 games in Spanish divisions, in various different divisions, mainly in La Liga. Scored 221 goals in that time. Now, it was his last season last year. And he wanted to sign off with a cup, and he thought, we're going to, we get to the final, we should win the Copa del Rey, hopefully. And then COVID hit. And Aduriz was going to retire at the end of the season because he was going for a hip replacement. So, unfortunately, with obviously it being cancelled and everything else, he couldn't play the game. So, Bilbao invited him to the final against Barcelona. He sat in the stands. He actually met the team before, all his old teammates. He met the team before. Obviously celebrated the fact they won, and then they basically invited him down onto the pitch to actually go and lift the cup for them, which I thought was an absolutely fantastic story and a great ending to what is, a fantastic career for a guy that played here in Mallorca as well. He played 2 seasons here, 2009 to 2010/11. He was top scorer in both seasons here, and the fans loved him. When he came back last year for Bilbao, he actually missed a penalty against us. I don't know if it was meant or anything, but, he got a standing ovation because they substituted him towards the end. He got a standing ovation. Everywhere he's gone, he's loved. Apparently, he's a lovely bloke. And I just think it's a great little story, to put into the blog.
It's classy, Richie. It's classy, isn't it? There's so many... it's not a great time for football across the world. There's not some great stories out there, is there, at the moment with what's going on in the world? But that's a classy thing to do. And, Bilbao, they're a classy club, Bilbao are. They've got their way of doing things, They're very proud to be Basque. And it's no disgrace for Ibiza to lose to a club like that, and also to push them to the wire, and really probably be the better team on the night. But always difficult to play against a La Liga side because they have that little bit of quality.
Yeah, and the one thing I think about Ibiza that we still always forget is that they only play players that were born in the Basque region, which still today, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You'd think that, in this day and age, they would have dropped that. But no, they're still churning out great players.
Exactly. And Bilbao, the big disappointment, Richie, and I know you're gonna agree with me on this one, the massive disappointment is that we couldn't go and watch it. That's the thing. I mean, probably the second biggest match ever in Ibiza's history after last year, and there was no one in the stands, which is heartbreaking, really, because that makes the difference on the night, and that makes the performance even more amazing that they managed to do that without 7,000 fans there, because there wouldn't have been many Bilbao fans. So,
of course,
they would have been the 12th man of the night, but unfortunately, that's the world we live in, and amazing that they achieved that without fans.
So we're back to action this weekend. First of all, La Liga Smart Bank Real Mallorca had a week off because it was Copa del Rey action last weekend. Mallorca, it's the second round of matches now. We've had the first full round now, so we're back to the second round of matches. Mallorca come against Rayo Vallecano, the team that they lost to the first game of the season, if you can remember, by 1-0. Vallecano right now lying fourth place, actually, in La Liga. So, they're going to be pushing to get a win because, they'll be 3 points close to Mallorca, just 2 points behind them if they do win. And Mallorca obviously in a bit of a sticky patch right now. Haven't won in 3, drew 1, lost 2. Need to get back to winning ways, and this is not going to be an easy place to go.
That was a bad loss against Las Palmas, Richie, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah.
I think it was a poor game, wasn't it? And they lost to the odd goal. They were the kind of matches that before they were winning. Yeah, they were.
Yeah, it's true.
Pretty tepid stuff, but they seem to eke out a win in those matches. So they've really got to put a good performance in. Vallecano are hot on their heels at the moment. Vallecano are a good team, by the way, very good team. They're going to be there and thereabouts at the end of the season. They're going to have illusions of La Liga. So at the end of the day, very, very important match for Mallorca.
Alex Alegria has left out on loan. He's one of the non-scoring centre forwards. He's gone. He's gone to Zaragoza on loan, who are in the same division, by the way. But I think Mallorca are trying to free up a bit of money to see if they can find someone that can put that ball in the back of the net for them. I mean, look, they're still joint second top scorers in La Liga 2. We know it's a league that doesn't get a lot of goals, to be honest with you, but now they're leaking goals. That's the other side of it now. Up to sort of before these last 3 games, they'd only conceded 4. They're now up to 10. And so that's 6 in the last 3 games. So hasn't been 2 a game, but on average it is. So basically, it's about not losing. We always say this, away games, if you go away, don't lose. If you get a draw, great. If you get a win, fantastic, because there's a 3-point gap between them and Espanyol. You don't want that gap to get any bigger, They've pretty much kept each other, sometimes Mallorca's first, sometimes it's Espanyol. You want to keep in touch. And I say there's other chasing clubs like Almeria, Vallecano, Sporting Gijón, Leganés. There are teams, sniffing around that extra place to go up for promotion. So Mallorca need to get a win this weekend. Yeah,
I mean, this is a great comeback match for Mallorca. It'd be a great match to win, but it'd be a horrible match to lose.
Agreed. Absolutely. So let's look at Segunda B. Last week, OD carried on their great form in the league anyway. Managed to get a 1-0 win. It was against Levante, was it? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was
last week.
Yeah, it was Levante, Richie. It was an early goal. Sirio scored in the 10th minute. I would say a comfortable 1-0 win. They didn't look too much danger. But, it's good to see them still carrying through. Obviously, they are 7 points clear at the top now.
7, yeah.
Ahead of Hercules and Villarreal B as well. So, signs are really good, mate. I just hope that that there's no hangover from the Copa del Rey, because I don't think there should be, but you never know, do you? You put so much energy into those big games. You just hope they haven't kind of expended too much energy. So they've got a game this weekend. They're going to play away to La Nucia on the mainland.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see what happens. But I think we've got to look for a win for them, mate. To be honest, the Nuthia are third from bottom. They're in the relegation place, so really they've only got 8 points, where Ibiza's got 26 points. So really, you've got to say away win. But as I said, let's hope they haven't expended too much energy against the big boys.
Peña Deportiva obviously lost their Copa del Rey game 4-1. It was, wasn't it? Valladolid in after extra time. They managed to get them to 1-1, didn't they?
Yeah, and that, it was a tough one for Peña, because they really deserved something from that game as well. But I think any time you go into extra time against the La Liga teams, you have to bet on the big team, because they're just that little bit fitter, that little bit more motivated. And basically, they
unless you're Real Madrid, of course.
Exactly. Well, that's one of the bright points, Richie. However, the big news about that game was that Peña have denounced the use of a Brazilian player called the Freitas, I think his name is, and they're asking for that match to be replayed or given to them. So I don't think that's going to happen, Richie. I think it's a punt, but it's an interesting sidebar to that game.
In the league last week, they lost away at Villarreal by 2-0. So Peña are sort of hanging around the relegation area. They've got 8 points, haven't they? They're an 8th out of 10 teams. So they're looking over their shoulders. Like most teams, they're struggling to score goals, but they're not letting in many. That's the other. I mean, I'm looking here. They've only scored 2, let in 6.
It's not good enough. It's not good enough, Richie. You can't stay in that league if you're going to score 2 goals. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Again, I speak to one of the assistant trainer regularly, and he just says it's just not happening. That they're having chances. It's just not clicking. They haven't got that guy that's just sticking the ball in the back of the net. And if that carries on, mate, they're not going to get out of that relegation spot. It means that they go into the third group of teams in Segunda B. So we really need a weekend where, we're still looking for that match that changes things for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Villarreal be at the top of the league, or towards the top of the league. So that's going to be a real tough ask tomorrow when they go away.
Good. All right, let's move on to Atlético Baleares. They are home this weekend. They're playing Rayo Vallecano. Baleares, of course, haven't played a game basically since they played the last game before Christmas, which was the 3-2 home loss against Poblense. So they're going to have. I think the coach came out and said last week that what might have to happen. They might have to play, weekend and midweek in order to catch up, because they are behind everybody else here, because they lost a couple of games from COVID as well, don't forget. So it's going to be tough for Baleares. They're at the mid-table. They've got 9 points. Top of the table as San Sebastian have got 19 points. So along with Majadahonda as well. So that's going to be a tough game for Baleares. It'll be interesting to see how they get on there. And UD this weekend are at home, I think they are, yeah. They drew last week against Atletico Madrid, which is a good result.
Really good.
Yeah, I don't know if you know that Atletico Madrid, their B team is being looked after by Fernando Torres right now.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, which is interesting, because that would have been a good game to go and watch, to see him on the touchline. But not this weekend. This weekend they are, let me just check for you, away in San Sebastian. They've got the top team, San Sebastian.
They've got the top team, mate. I mean, that's going to be a tough match, Richard. And also, if you look at the table, they're
like Peña, aren't they?
Yeah, well, at least they scored 9 goals, Richard, and so that they are sticking the ball in the net.
Yeah.
However, that's not a game you're going to expect them to win at all. So I think we're going to be talking about an away loss there for next week, mate. But they're still fighting there. They're not out of it by any stretch of the imagination. Atlético Baleares still in a bit of trouble, Richie, in 6th. That's just not good enough.
No, I agree. Let's hope they can get a win this weekend. Let's move into Tercera then. In Group A, Andratx and Manacor seem to be the two taking it forward. I think I saw last week that Port Manny were beaten by Petusas, wasn't it, last week? I seem to remember.
I'm just going to get the matchup.
Yeah, 3-0 it was.
They lost the derby, mate. So the senior Ibiza, or Ibiza Islas Petusas, as they're called, lost the derby. They conceded an early goal, Paul Manny did, and then they conceded one halfway through. And it was 2-0 at half-time, Richie, and the heads went down. The good thing about Paul Manny is that they're streaming their games live on Facebook because we can't go in to see them. So there is a way to see it. It's not the best TV coverage in the world, Rich. In fact, it's somebody's mobile phone waving around a little bit. But,
mate, can't they get you on the commentary?
I know, mate. We need English commentary, don't we? So it's not ideal, mate. But at least you can still be involved as well. And at the end of the day, it was a big derby. They lost it, unfortunately. But, you know, they're still in 4th position, Rich. 15 points. They've scored 17 goals, conceded 18 points. And they've got this kid up front, mate. And I really like this guy, mate. His name's, I think it's Pietro. He's quality, mate. I can't believe he's still there. Every time I see him play, he just oozes class. And he's the linchpin. So if Paul Manny can keep him happy and keep him fit because he's been injured a couple of games, he's their man, mate. But Manacor and Andrax, well, Andrax look like they're running away with it.
Yeah, they do. And then let's move over to Group B. Group B is actually being dominated by Playas de Calvia. Playas de Calvia, of course, down near me, actually, not far from where I am. They lead by 6 points from Mallorca B. Now, Mallorca B could have closed the gap last weekend, but it was a 0-0 draw. They got a 0-0 draw playing Playas de Calvia. It wasn't a good game, apparently, by all accounts. But big games this weekend. I'm just trying to see who players have got. They've got San Rafael this weekend, who are mid towards the bottom. And Mallorca B are playing away in San Jordi. That's is that your way, San Jordi?
Well, San Rafael's mine as well. And San Rafael don't forget to beat the team, and also San Jordi as well.
Okay.
San Rafael's changed their managers this week, Richie. They've changed their manager. I forget the guy's name, but it was a big press release. Obviously, San Rafael are now a satellite team for UD Ibiza.
That's right.
So they've changed their manager. I haven't got the name, but he looks like he knows what he's doing. And obviously, San Jordi, they're the dark horses, Richie, because really we've not heard a lot about them. We don't talk a lot about them, but they're hanging in there, aren't they? 18 points from 10 games, 13 goals scored, 11 conceded. You know, they're only 2 point. Excuse me, they're only 1 point off the top three. So you never know. That might be a good story. Obviously, don't forget that your man from Real Mallorca, Luca Romero, used to play for San Jordi, by the way, as a youth player. That was his team as a youth player. He started in Formentera and then went to San Jordi. That was where I saw him score more goals than I care to remember. So they're the two teams, and hopefully especially San Rafael will get out of the relegation, and maybe San Jordi could spring a surprise.
Division Honor is the highest classification in youth football, and San Francisco is the club that my two boys play for. Their Division Honor team are running to a bit of form. They've won their last 2 games, but they lost to Real Mallorca. It was a bit of a derby game. This is a game that was cancelled a couple of weeks ago, so they put it on this Wednesday. I watched a little bit on Facebook, actually, and it was quite a good game. San Francisco went 1-0 up, but Mallorca came back to win by 2-1. Peña Arabal struggled a little bit. They lost 6-2 last week against CF Dam. The league is still being dominated by Espanyol, actually. And Barcelona look like they've run into a bit of form right now. They won 5-0 last time out. So Espanyol lead on 31 points. I mean, they're way above everything else. They've won 10 of the 11 games, drawn 1. Barcelona is second on 19. Of our teams, Mallorca in 4th on 16, San Francisco in 6th on 13, and Peña Arabal in 8th on 12. It's just important for all our teams there to stay in that league, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And also the fact that you've got 3 in that league, Rich, is a really massive achievement. I've always liked Peña Arabal. We say it all the time. They're my favourite team because I've seen their youth setup. They are very, very keen. I think they're, at youth level, they're amazing. And, I really want them to come out of the bottom 3. San Francisco scored 12 and conceded 13, so that's pretty decent. And Mallorca, they're knocking on the door, aren't they?
They are, yes, they are. Now, we've talked before about players, we're producing a lot of good players right now, the players that are going on to, mainly going into sort of La Liga or La Liga Smart Bank. You just mentioned Luca Romero as a very, very good example. But what I've noticed actually over the last, particularly the last week, we've mentioned one of the coaching. A lot of coaches are actually coming out of Mallorca that I didn't really know about too much, We talked the other week about a guy called Carlos Vicens, who was born over in Colonia San Jose, who's at Manchester City. He's looking after the under-18 team. There's another boy, which is a really interesting story. He's called Carlos Cuesta. He's only 25 years old. He was a player. He played at Santa Catalina. He played in a Balearic representative side along with Marco Asensio, who we know obviously is at Real Madrid right now. He was obviously at Real Mallorca before that. But Carlos Cuesta went to Madrid to go and study a Faculty of Sciences for Physical Activity and Sport, basically a diploma, I imagine, or some sort of degree, whatever. And while he was there, he got some coaching out with Atlético Madrid. He went to coach the sort of Benjamins, the Alevins, the Cadetes, all that. While he was there, he studied and he watched Diego Simeone. He got invited to Manchester City by Pep Guardiola, and he went and did a bit of coaching with him. Then he went to Juventus, and he was coaching under Max Allegri and also Sarri, who used to be at Chelsea as well. He was at Juventus for just over a year. And now he's
at your boys, isn't he?
He's at the Arsenal, yeah.
The Arsenal.
He's at the Arsenal. He's 25 years old. I mean, the CV already, he's looking fantastic. And but I think Arteta thinks lots of him. Obviously, he met him when he was at Man City, invited him down, and he's fully ensconced in the setup at Arsenal now. So we'll be keeping an eye on him. And one name that totally went out of my radar was a guy called Xisco Munoz. Xisco Munoz is the new manager at Watford. He was born in Manacor.
Wow.
He went. He's done a bit of coaching over here. He went to Dinamo Tbilisi. He managed them over in Ukraine, I think, Dinamo Tbilisi. And then Watford picked him up. I mean, as we all know, there's a bit of a revolving door at Watford. You can sort of be in and out within 2 or 3 months. But it's a great thing for them. And as I say, another one who's come from Mallorca, which is fantastic. So keeping an eye out for all those sort of players and managers, coaches, whatever, who have come from the islands, because it just goes to show that we can produce, people of high quality here as well. So that's about it, Mark, for this week.
Fantastic.
I will speak to you next week. Don't forget to follow us all on. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media. Akitb Balearics on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. And we'll be back next week to talk to you after the games for this weekend. Until then, take care. Cheers, Mark.
Thanks, Richie. See you next week, mate. Bye-bye.
Where am I?
Right, pal.
Yeah, all good, mate.
Yeah.